Welcome to the Open Mic Podcast Show with Mike Midgley.
Hey, and welcome to the Open Mic Podcast. In today's episode, I'm excited to be covering the fundamentals of digital marketing in the year 2020. Today's influencer guest is Jeff Stanislow from Chief Internet Marketer, and Jeff is based out of Tampa in Florida. Welcome to the show, Jeff. It's great to have you today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely great. And you mentioned earlier that you've had a bit of temperature drop out there. We were talking off air, down to about 50, and we're freezing over here at 7, and we were, quite envious of your weather out there. But hopefully, you're looking forward to a good season out there this year.
Yeah, it's that beautiful time of year here in Florida where, you get the mid 70s to low 80s and lots of sunshine. And so it's a great time here in Tampa.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to coming over to the state later this year as well, as we do a bit of a tour out there. We've got some people to see out there, so we'll be checking in. But if you want to know a little bit more about Jeff, head over to chiefinternetmarketer.com. You can hook up with Jeff online at LinkedIn using the normal LinkedIn. Just search Jeff Stanislow. That's JEFFSTANISLOW. We'll put all these links into the show notes, so you don't have to worry if you're listening or you're driving. You can sort of scroll down and get these at your leisure. You can also follow Jeff at Twitter at Jeff Stanislow, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Stanislow. We have a number of guests who talk around different strategies in digital, but the speed that the digital marketing economy and the environment moves is pretty important, and it's pretty fast. By the time you learn one strategy, it can be out of date, and there's somebody popping up and doing another one. What we've got today is a highly experienced individual in Jeff. We're going to learn a lot more about his bio. And Jeff is what I would call a true internet professional. Jeff's sort of journey dates back to 1994. And let's just be realistic about this. That's, the time of this recording is sort of February 2020. So that's 26 years ago. And you might think, yeah, so what? But you got to date this, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter weren't around until 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8, and obviously Facebook was just a college campus product in 2004. And Instagram, 2012. We're dating back to 1994, before most of us had a computer on this desk, and we were still using probably Alta Vista to search, or just getting used to things like email and things like that. So date that, and you've got an individual who's highly, highly certified, highly, highly skilled, and we're in for a real treat with some serious sort of education and knowledge here. So tell us a little bit more, Jeff, about your journey, starting all the way back in 1994, which is the pre-mainstream days of the internet, of course.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time, and I got started when, people were, hey, you got to check out this thing called the WWW, the World Wide Web. And I remember talking to people about, hey, there's this thing called Google that you can actually helps you search and find things of interest and find other websites. And, I went through the whole metamorphosis of, building contextual websites to adding graphic designs and, the flaming logo, or the spinning globes of the day. So all the way to, the advent of the digital marketing, as being complementary to the website, and been doing it ever since. So yeah, it's been quite a wild ride all these years. I call myself a 25-year-old rookie when it comes down to digital marketing.
Absolutely. And when you use the word rookie, it's a bit like an oxymoron, because rookie at 25 years doesn't sound right, but the speed of the internet, where we're at, I love it. Absolutely love it. But not originally from Tampa, Jeff, originally from Michigan. Tell us a little bit more about that, the journey as you went through that, and obviously how you ended up down in Tampa.
So yeah, I started off my digital marketing career, doing websites in Michigan. So I had the pleasure of working with major automotive companies, Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler. Worked with them, and helping building their initial websites. I worked with the respective agencies. The agencies didn't have the resources that were at the web, so I worked on Ford special vehicle stuff. I consulted with them on building, Chrysler's first website. And so, started off doing a lot of that type of work. And then I worked in Silicon Valley for a little while. I led the automotive channel in Detroit for a company called Talk City. Right. That was, a community based. It was kind of a chat room at the time, was really popular. And, it's kind of the modern day spin of social media. Back in, early 2000s, I remember doing the PT Cruiser launch chat with Chrysler. Back in the day, God, this had to have been, early 2000, late 90s, early 2000 when the PT Cruiser was launched.
Amazing.
And we did that with Talk City, and you talk about building community. And, so I lived in the Silicon Valley heyday where they'd have the Yahoo launch parties that I would go out to and just crazy time in the, before the bubble. And then I lived through the bubble.
The dot-com bubble there.
I did. I saw, all the crazy stuff going on in Silicon Valley. I went to Alta Vista, launch parties and, like I mentioned, Yahoo and several others. And, early on, some of the other companies like, Google and them were getting started, and it was a great time. And then, we had a correction, the companies that were just built on napkins and getting millions and millions of dollars in venture capital, they went through the finding level water, and, here we are today. But then I was started my own agency, called Motor City Interactive at the time, and worked with clients in Detroit and suppliers in the automotive industry and healthcare providers. And then I moved down to Tampa about 10 years ago, family, and, wanted to change. And so I was actually running Motor City Interactive, and I started Bay City Interactive down here in Tampa, and then just managing two agencies got to be a little bit crazy. And I was lucky enough to find the domain chief internet marketer. And so I consolidated those two businesses. And
it's back in 2011,
Yeah. So, today I'm in Tampa and, doing some great things here. And I've actually, flipped the script on the company a little bit from providing professional services, which I still do, to, as a consultant. But now I'm actually, training and certifying the future digital marketers of the world, and working with clients and companies to, make sure that the skills gap, which is out there in digital marketing, is bridged.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, fake it till you make it stuff out there, Jeff, isn't there? And I know we had a telephone conversation prior to this podcast when we talked about that certification. We'll learn a little bit more about that in the podcast. And as I say, if you want to learn more about that ahead of that, and you don't want to get to the end, just head over to chiefinternetmarketer.com. You can check out the amazing work that Jeff and his team are doing there. Some real high quality training and certifications that, cut through the fog and get at the real issues for sure. And it's, in the internet for me, Jeff, or certainly the digital marketing apologies, is very much sometimes like the Wild West was. There ain't a great deal of sheriffs around, and there's a lot of people maybe taking advantage of people unnecessarily. And as I say, if you want to cut through all that and get us some real solid stuff, head over to chiefinternetmarketer.com, and you can see, quality sort of, you've just heard Jeff's background there. It's solid, it's robust, and it's definitely worth checking out. So tell us more about 2013, Jeff. Just quickly, you had a little bit of not a change, but you went into the, away from heavily motor and things like that. Obviously coming from, Michigan, and Detroit is Motor City, of course, up there. Or maybe it's not as active as it used to be, I don't know, but with all the cutbacks. But you ventured into online travel as well, which is a very competitive market, doing carrental8.com and things like that as well. Just tell us a little bit more about that sort of slight change of direction and how that came about.
Yeah, so basically I started working with a company as a consultant and digital marketer for a company called Carrental8. And myself and the owner of the organization, which is, kind of an intermediary car rental provider, not an asset provider, but a broker, just like Expedia or Travelocity or any of those, or Skyscanner. And we actually started a company and called it National Travel Deals, and then started building it out there. So we expanded upon car rentals and started getting into, more hotel and flights, and, with car rentals being our past experience. And we built that up, and then, we ended up selling the organization a couple of years back. And so, along with that great ride in a very competitive marketplace,
Yeah,
we
very
did pretty well. And long story short, there was a company called National Car Rentals that thought we were, competing, and so we ended up, taking a look at. We did a little deal with them so they could purchase the asset, nationaltraveldeals.com. And then we spun off the Car Rental 8 brand itself to another investor.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, it's a very highly competitive marketplace, but if you have the right contracts in place with the suppliers, it can be a very, very good and lucrative business, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of my background, it was in automotive or more finance and leasing, so wheeled asset stuff, your contract hire, leasing sort of stuff in the finance side of it. And you're absolutely right. We used to use a lot of short-term rental stuff, and it is competitive for sure. But I love it when initiatives come together, and our listeners, as we know, they're all entrepreneurs trying to bridge that gap between the ideas that they've got to successful implementation. And often too much focus is maybe put on the idea as opposed to the successful implementation. Now, obviously, everything starts with an idea and that burning desire to get going. We know that. But the great example that Jeff's just given you there is with enough dedication, enough commitment, understanding your network, getting the right contract, you can successfully exit that and, make a turn on that. And, there's a view that I have. I don't like to start businesses or get involved with businesses unless I know where the exit point is going to be, or at least the exit we're trying to get to. And congratulations on that exit, Jeff. That's, you must be fairly proud of that, because not a lot of entrepreneurs get to that stage. They either crash and burn or stay static or just grow, and maybe they're happy with that. But, I love the exits and, very satisfying. I'm sure you agree.
Yeah, no, it was an excellent opportunity to start something, build it, and exit out of it in a short period of time.
Yeah.
I think, the runway longer probably would have made for a more fruitful exit. So I'm still, doing this business. Not retired off playing golf here in Florida yet, but it was a great experience, one that I am proud of, and thanks for recognizing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all too often to sort of look at who we are, what we do, and in this world of authenticity and being humble, and I'm all for that. But there's nothing wrong with recognizing a pat on the back when people do well. And if you're out there as a listener, you're going through an exit, maybe you're trying to plan an IPO or something like that, or you're just selling your business or acquiring one, it is a major milestone, it's an achievement, and it deserves recognition when that's the case. So don't be too shy about it.
Definitely a lot of hard work.
Definitely. And before we get into the subject of the fundamentals of digital marketing in 2020, Jeff, just tell us a little bit more about you outside of work. I know you do some professor work at college. I know you do some volunteering. Tell us a little bit about that and why that's important to you.
Yeah, sure. One of the important things that to me is to give back. So after I finished my master's degree, I was an adjunct professor for 5 years, teaching digital marketing at a business school in Michigan called Walsh College. That was an excellent experience. I really enjoyed working with students. And then today, I'm actually working with the University of South Florida. I'm on their digital marketing advisory board. I also am working with Hillsborough Community College, which is a local community college, in their what they call In Labs, which is an entrepreneurship, and I'm helping them with students with business plans and ideas, and a lot of them are coming up with unique applications that they're trying to bring to market, and I'm providing some value there. I'm doing speaking, public speaking. There's a big event coming up here that I spoke at last year called the Synapse Summit. It's a big innovation event in Tampa. It's being held at Amalie Arena where the Tampa Bay Lightning play. There's 5,000 people there.
Wow.
And I'm happily engaged with them. And I'm doing a radio show here in Tampa on AM 820 called the Jeff Stanislow Show. Got to work on some branding on that. It's kind of bland, but it is what it is for right now. And definitely like to be engaged in the community as far as giving back. And that's what kind of led me to, kind of the pivot in chief internet marketer, saying that, okay, I know I want to make the digital marketing landscape as valuable as I know it is. I think there's a disconnect between the value proposition that most small to medium-sized business owners think about the internet. When they watch a Super Bowl ad for GoDaddy or Wix.com and they see $99, a month websites, and it bastardizes the whole industry. The cottage industry of web development and digital marketing had a nice little sweet spot where agencies could, fit a gap, have a nice living and make, do some great things. But then it kind of combats with, this kind of mindset that a small to medium-sized business owner doesn't value what a website and a digital marketing campaign can bring to them. And it drove the cost down of what people were investing. Somebody's brother's got a son in a basement that can build a website for, a couple $100. And that's not going to, empirically change the value proposition of your business. It's not going to move the needle in driving revenues for your business,
Absolutely.
And so you've probably talked to many people in regards to, the service side of things and what things really cost to make an impact, and probably shocked by what people think, when you say, hey, this is going to be $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month, and they're thinking it's going to be $500 a month.
It is. There is a big disconnect there. And I think also, while we're on the subject of digital marketing, my son runs a HubSpot agency, inbound agency that I do a lot of strategic work inside of. Well, the biggest disconnect I see, Jeff, is exactly what you just said there. They've got a friend of a friend or a college leaver in the bedroom basement doing whatever. And anybody can put up a site, a Wix site. And no disrespect to Wix or webs.com. They are what they are. But if you're a true investment, the cost of copywriting, and the cost of understanding the strategy, you wouldn't build a house without plans. You wouldn't build a house without correct foundations. And, it'll stand for a while, but, first time you get a little bit of wind or anything, it's going to fall over. If it's not correctly foundations down, then sometimes the strategic element can be a lot more than the actual build of the end product and getting it right. And, you don't have to go over complex. And if you look at all the working pieces and, if you count the number of components, not just in a website. And I'm not talking about homepage or service page. I'm talking about everything else that makes it work to convert, to rank, to actually go forward. It's huge. And that's before you then get to the follow-up and the advertising, the autoresponders and everything else, Jeff. It's huge, isn't it? And I just don't think small businesses understand the complexity. And it's to a degree. You're from a motor background or motor industry background. So am I from a finance motor industry background. And people always used to sort of call the car salesman. And I make similar references to digital marketing here. The car salesman always the bad guy, but it's a highly skilled job, understanding the car, the specification, matching it to it. And sure, like any industry, there's some rogues out there, but there's a lot of high quality professionals doing a great job and serving people. And it's as if, to a degree, sometimes the digital marketing community is getting tarred with that, dodgy used car salesperson. And I think it's wildly unfair, Jeff, and I don't know if you see a lot of that coming across, where people are trying to go out there and give the clients the best advice that will get them results, as opposed to just trying to give them a less of a service into a budget just so they can afford it. I don't know if you come across that to a degree.
Yeah, that's a battle that you face every day in regards to it. And especially as a consultant that I'm working with these clients and just explaining to them that, this is not the yellow page person coming in and saying, do you want a $2,500 ad and you writing a check and that's what you get for the year and nobody does any work. This is, it's a human capital investment, to run a social media campaign. This isn't something that's just automated. You got to come up with the calendaring, the strategy, the creative, the copywriting.
Yeah.
You got to, execute the post. You got to, make sure the message is on spot. you got to make sure, especially if you're looking at advertising on those platforms as well, then, now you got to, run the ads,
optimize
do the targeting, look at the reporting, optimize the campaign. And, that's a lot of human capital that goes into it. It's not, putting a billboard out on an expressway and just hoping things work.
Yeah, and the other thing as well is it's ongoing training. I mean, we study, 8-10 hours a week just maintaining our HubSpot certifications, learning the latest strategies. And, even if we studied 40 hours a week, we'd probably still be behind because the speed that the market just moves at and the new stuff that's coming out. But it is a very dedicated and skilled job. So, give some kudos to your digital marketing partners, whether that's Jeff or anybody else. They're working hard for you. And, most, I can't say for everybody because there is always the rogue individual, but most have generally got your best interests at heart, and their success is your success, and vice versa. And give some love to them because they're highly skilled people who do an amazing job. So thanks for sharing that bio, Jeff. One thing I do want to mention, because we missed it in the bio earlier, Jeff was also recognized by Cranes in Detroit, which is like the who's who of technology. So another proud moment there, getting recognized, in a top publication there.
Well, thank you. It was an honor, and I always, joke a lot of these accolades and a couple bucks get you a cup of coffee in the morning. So, but it is nice to be recognized, and I appreciate Cranes for recognizing my efforts and what I put together. And you had mentioned a minute ago about people being fiduciaries and responsible for the digital marketing campaigns and wanting to do good work. And one of the movements that I'm trying to put out is actually at chiefinternetmarketer.com. If you go to career planning, I actually built a page called the Digital Marketer's Oath. And what I'm asking, digital marketers to go in there is to raise their hand and make their commitment as a digital marketing professional, and be a fiduciary, continue their education, manage the campaigns, be transparent, and all these things that are related to what I consider a professional period, whatever the industry. But this one happens to be related. It's called the Digital Marketer's Oath, and I'm pushing that out.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So it's kind of something unique. As a certified digital marketing professional myself, I understand what it takes. And, there's a recent study that says, of the 100% of the people that claim they're digital marketing professionals, only 34% are competent in what they really do.
It's amazing. Yeah, it is. I'm just looking at this Digital Marketer's Oath on my laptop here as well, Jeff, and we're going to put that underneath in the podcast blog. So again, if you listen to this in the car, take Jeff up on that. Head over there, click the button, fill it in. There's a short form at the bottom. There's a bit of information there, and submit that, and let Jeff know either heard over the Open Mic podcast or get with Jeff, and I'm sure you'll do that. But we'll post that link in the blog as well, Jeff, right. And we'll see if we can get that out, because ultimately, we do want to do the best for both ourselves, naturally, but ultimately our clients. And, it's a bit like in our sort of agency, we don't tie people into these long, restrictive retainers. We do monthly rolling because what our view is that if we do a great job, you're going to stick around. If we get you results, you're going to stick around. And, it de-risks it for the client, but it also shows you the confidence that we have to get you results. And, I know there's a lot of other good agencies who will do similar things like that and are flexible because they do generally want the best. So let's head over and let's dig deep into digital marketing and the fundamentals in 2020. And as we get started here, Jeff, the term content marketing is something that's widely used. Could you break that down for us? Because some of the listeners, they'll be early in their digital marketing stage, others are more advanced at, C-suite or exec level. But break the term content marketing down for us, and what the listeners really need to be focusing on when they're using that terminology.
Well, when it comes down to content marketing, I mean, it is widely used for sure, but it is because it touches so many aspects of a brand. Some of the things that part of the challenges that you find with content marketing is people don't understand the dynamics of content marketing. They don't understand the fluidity of content marketing and the reach of content marketing. So, in its basic shell, it's anything that you want to produce that represents your brand.
Yes.
It's how you go about doing it and defining it. You can define it as, is this an evergreen content strategy, which means it's going to, go past the test of time and you're not worried about it? Or is it a topical content marketing strategy, which might be something related to your product or service that might fit for a specific time period, like recently the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So you look at the Super Bowl as an aspect, there's a whole topical content marketing strategy that can be done around the Super Bowl, or you got the Olympics coming up, or for that matter, if you Google, social media calendaring or content marketing calendaring, there's so many different types of content, of topical content events that are going on. You look at a calendar, you have your major holidays. If you're an e-commerce store, you got Valentine's Day coming up, you got St. Patrick's Day coming up, get your green products out, and those are all, relative topical content marketing strategies. One of the challenges that I see a lot from a lot of companies is like, they kind of run out of content. They're kind of just like, and if you think about it just as like from your product and service content, there's probably a limited scope.
Yep.
So what you have to do from a strategic standpoint is you have to get all your stakeholders involved and say, okay, we got to look at content from a holistic standpoint for our brand and how the messaging defines each other. And then from once you have that, you might have your product group that's working on new products that you can get content from. You might have HR that's looking for new types of employees that you can get content from. You might have executives who are the thought leaders that you want to get content from that will actually, give you that thought leadership or build that authority that your brand is looking for. All those types of things. And then you got to figure out the distribution channels of the content. Is it a blog? Is it a podcast? Is it a webinar? How are we distributing on social? And, which content works best on social? And then obviously the different types of formats of the content gets broken down too. Is it contextual? Is there images that are supporting it? Is it infographics? Is it video? So you can see how content marketing, is used widely because it touches a lot of things. In 2020, the difference is the web is kind of going back full circle. When you used to hear the term in the early 2000s saying, well, content is king. Well, content was king back then, but then all of a sudden, you have these graphical interfaces that were becoming more widely adopted and then, and supported. And so then you had the creatives take over and start building like these massively large files and things that took a while to download. And that's coming full circle to where content is king again, and actually speed, which Google loves now, is taking that and bringing that into context where your content marketing strategy is becoming more stronger because you want to make sure that your speed, especially in your mobile versions of your websites, is there because Google's rewarding speed.
Absolutely. There's actually the AMP pages, isn't it? The accelerated mobile pages, which is absolutely loaded. Does it load like 8 times the content in a quarter of the time or something? You may correct me on that, but it's something like that, isn't it, Jeff?
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. I've done a little bit of thought. Google is creating the AMP standard. So they kind of own that philosophy and they approve the AMP page. Which loads really fast and it has a whole conditions and, you're not allowed to use certain things that people like JavaScript. It's really like lean code, and it gets the AMP approval from Google, but there's not like an industry-wide type of AMP. So, Google again is creating more of its dominance by creating the standard that people want to go to. So it's interesting how they kind of own that. But at the larger principal scale, anything that you can do to make sure that your website loads faster, and is more relevant is going to be rewarded in your search engine strategies.
Yeah, that's a great call. And if you want to learn more about that, just shoot us a message. Use the hashtag #VOpenMic. We'll either get that forwarded to Jeff or one of our team will answer that for you. But AMP is all about the accelerated mobile page that Jeff's covering there. And ultimately, a lot of, with search overtaking on mobile now, people are on the phone using data. They want it to load quick. They want it to load fast, and give people the answers that they're searching for. So that's a great take, and I appreciate you covering that, Jeff. So naturally, it moves into SEO because content's linked to SEO. But with so much content coming out now and the different forms, like you mentioned, what's your view on SEO now? And has that changed? How has it changed? What should the listeners be thinking about when they're thinking about the search engine optimization?
Well, search is one of those ever fluid strategies as well. You kind of came from a time where people would, from search engine optimization, they would take their page and they would stuff keywords in it. It's kind of like, there's action and reaction when it comes down to search. There's gray areas, there's white hat, and then there's black hat. And it's like this evolution of a game. So as a professional digital marketer, you want to push the envelope, but you actually want to do it right. So, back in the day when people were stuffing keywords, Google's algorithm change, ended that. Then you had the whole strategy of vanity keywords, where vanity URLs, which were being like, Tampa Bay, chiropractics.com.
Yeah.
So the business name wasn't related to it, but it was loved by search for the geo-specific because the vanity URL. Google made an update to the algorithm, and that got wiped out. Now you're seeing again, more the proper content with the proper messaging and being delivered in a user interface that is fast. The next evolution in 2020 and beyond is how artificial intelligence and machine learning impacts the global search environment. And if you really think about it, Google only indexes about 30% of the web.
Yeah. And
the whole AI and machine learning is actually working to have the computers to index the rest of the web. I've heard people talk about the rest of the web theory and how you go do that. And it just, as the user search are becoming, more related to not actually like, pizza, it now pizza near me. And now it's like those things are kind of known and understood how they react in search results. But it's like the dynamic pizza saying, I'm looking for a thick crusted pizza, in Sarasota because that's where I'm heading tonight. And, the traditional Google keyword search and index and bots and all that, they're not there yet, but with artificial intelligence, it's learning and it's going to be able to provide more relevant results based on that. Like, if you're a left-handed skier and you're going to, Colorado for a ski trip, you're searching, just your search query is so much different than it used to be. It used to be ski Colorado. Now they're getting so much more detailed, and the search results are demanding, more contextual and better results for that search user.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I love the point about the AI, Jeff. Specifically, I'll give you a real life example, but not quite AI, but it's voice and voice search as well. We went to Boston to the Inbound conference, and we, after a long day, we'd been there one of the after parties, and we were driving back to the hotel in an Uber. And I said to the guy, I said, I know it was late on and it's not best practice, but I could murder a cup of coffee. we've got a bit of work to do to write the notes up before. So I'd grab a cup of coffee about 8 o'clock at night. So I said to the Uber, can you drop us off or can you call in through a Starbucks on the way? And all he does is touch his phone and put Starbucks around me. And that's what the guy's speaking, to his phone. And then that's going to pick up a Starbucks. He hits the button and then he navigates and goes that way. And it just shows you how that is evolved as well with the search elements, and just that's with that voice as well. And, Starbucks around me or Starbucks near me is like you were saying there. And, it's pretty impressive now how it is starting to get more and more developed. And I don't know if you've come across, we're studying a little bit on that with the Alexas and Google Home Hubs and things like that. There's a lot of that going off, and companies can register and put the details. You can listen to the open mic, and Jeff's ready. So you just, Alexa, play the open mic podcast, and bang, that's a search thing that's ranking from these type of things. So search is, from voice is also going to be a big player, isn't it, Jeff?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you think about it, this is the dynamics. I know, I have Alexa, and when Alexa is being utilized, I have certain products that are available, and I just say, Alexa, order paper towel. And, the next day there's an Amazon package with a paper towel, and as a, Amazon Prime member, no shipping, no nothing, paper towel just shows up and I don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's it's certainly something that's going to take over, isn't it? And, so think about that. And again, if you want to learn more about that, shoot us a message, use the hashtag the open mic. We'll sort of engage with you, and sort of we'll see if we can get you some resources around that, and just share some thoughts and open the debate with us. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are. What's important to you? Have you got any questions around search? Have you got any questions around content marketing? We'll get those either forward to Jeff, or like I say, we'll see if we can help you out. So, moving forward, Jeff, is biggest mistakes that people are making with social media. It's such wide range of social. Is there a formula to have like a killer social media presence? Does it depend where you're at? What's your take on that?
I think the biggest mistake people make is they think social media is going to, be their savior, when it comes down to building their business, and, they're going to get all these, millions of followers, and it's going to impact their business. For most B2B businesses, social media is another channel where you can integrate your content marketing strategy to, let people know about opportunities, sales, offers, new products. But, you're not building out a vast network in regards to it, but it's still a very powerful platform for communications. Because if you take a look at it, anytime you have an opportunity to engage with your customers or prospects, you want to be on the channels that they're willing to engage with you on. So there are value there, but what we're seeing is, you're seeing more of an echo chamber when it comes down to social media. People are putting content out there. They're not getting the likes. They're not getting the comments. They're not getting the follows. It's because it's the same thing with like email marketing. The 30% response rates aren't happening anymore. Yeah. It's because the platform is becoming more widely adopted. There's more options for the platform. All of a sudden when you just, you use Facebook, and then you have Twitter, and then LinkedIn, and then now applications like TikTok, and other applications that come down the pipeline, these things spread your community further and further apart, and you have to be able to still communicate with them. But, their relevance and their engagement level also declines a little bit because they're using it so much more. And so you really have to make sure your message is on point, and understand there's value there, but it's not, hey, I'm going to build a Facebook page and, it's going to take my business and double it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people just post general stuff. I don't think they have a great deal of strategy because, when I reviewed some of the feeds, they're posting this here and that there. There doesn't seem to be any congruency. It's as if they seem to be posting for the sake of posting, as opposed to posting less, but putting quality, relevant content out there that would actually engage. I mean, that's what I see. Maybe that's just a UK thing. I don't know if you're seeing that in the States as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just wild, just shooting guns into the sky and hoping something comes out. And, it's crazy. I'd rather put one quality piece of content out a week, whether that's a podcast, a blog, or a combination, and, try and serve the audience that I try and do, as opposed to post 20 times a day and, and just pollute the feed. It's crazy. And if you're doing that, take a look back, listen to what Jeff said about, he talked earlier when we spoke about content marketing, and he talked about, is it brand, is it topical, what's the more holistic strategy? Give some thought to it. And before you hit publish, just thinking, is this helping my audience? Is this going right. And I see a lot of loose cannons as well, Jeff, where employees are going berserk on social. And, the company's saying one thing, the employees in senior positions are saying another. And if I'm a consumer, I'm a big believer as a copywriter. I did a lot of training on copywriting. I was always told a confused mind never buys. And, if the business position is this, like the holistic strategy, and that's either working or it isn't, and then, you've got C-level people out there doing horrible videos, and I'm not wanting it super published or, production, but off message and off point, and sometimes damn right unprofessional. Take a step back and have a look at what you're allowing your team to do and give them some direction if that's the case, because, you could be doing more harm than good, Jeff. I don't know what your take is on that.
Well, I think you bring up a really interesting point in regards to the strategy when it comes down to the social media from an employee standpoint. For one is, the HR team and your public relations or your corporate communications specialist, they should be trained and certified in digital marketing as well. They should be able to, manage the brand message across not only, the internal platforms from their employees and companies, but the messaging that they want to get external as well. And you have to give them talking points. You have to give them some guidelines on what to say and what not to say. They always battle from between who owns what.
Yeah.
And I worked with a gentleman I had on my radio show a couple months back from Ben Gresso. And one of the things is if you're on LinkedIn, is it you or is it your company?
Yeah.
And then, if you are an employee of the company and LinkedIn is more of the B2C, so you're representing the company. And so therefore, these are the things that you need to be able to talk about. We don't want you commenting on political.
Yeah.
We don't want you commenting on religion. We don't want you, posting these types of things on your LinkedIn account. And then, the company has a choice to say, well, if this person is rogue and they're not, they're misrepresenting our company, then we have to make a change at the company level and remove that person. And it's kind of getting to that point where, but as an individual, you're saying, I have rights. I have, my rights to be able to, the First Amendment, freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And, this is how I feel about something. So there's definitely a disconnect. And I work, one of the things that I'm working with is some communication strategists and HR people is kind of, asking their employees to talk about these subjects and these matters in regards to, having these talking points defined and areas where they can go and areas where they cannot go, and areas that if there's a question to have some type of feedback mechanism where they can reach out to HR, saying, I was asked this question by this person, what can I respond?
No, it makes sense. And it's a debate. And, have you thought about that? Have you considered it? Let us know. Use the hashtag The Open Mic. You mentioned earlier, Jeff, about, email with the open rates. I mean, straight question from what you're seeing is email marketing still effective, or is it down to how you use it?
I mean, it's a foundation to a good digital marketing strategy campaign. I mean, you guys, with the HubSpot, you understand the value of email and the value of triggers and the value of, if this, then that, and send out those communications. Now, you're not putting something out there and getting the 30% response rates that you're getting. It's kind of went the same model as direct mail, where you get a 3% response rate and then whatever your conversion rate is from there. But again, the ability to take and segment your brand's communication strategy, the ability to understand, what your consumers are buying, and then offer them something that they might be interested in based on the data that you aggregate and analyze and provide. And based on the work and the effort that you put in to create this custom communication directly impacts those results.
Yeah.
If you're just blasting out, a monthly newsletter and just putting it out there, then, your expectations should not be the same as if you're working very hard to understand that a person, clicked on this portion of the website because they're interested in this product or this service, and then, or they bought this product, and therefore this complementary product might be of interest to them, and you're working. That takes work. That's a lot of strategy. A lot of planning to do these complex flow charts. But email in its core is still a very, very viable aspect. I talk to people and they think, oh, well, we don't do email anymore because it's social media. I say, well, what do you do with all the email addresses? Now you went dark with all those people that aren't on social media or don't follow you on social media. They think, what happened to this brand, this trusted brand that I was receiving information from? Plus, it allows a little bit longer form communications. In your email, you can articulate your story better. You can set several points of destinations in your email strategy where in your social media posts, you're really not saying, if you would like more information on this, go here. If you'd like more information on this, go here. You kind of have to do it one-offs. Yep. You can implement the video that you want them to watch right in the email campaign itself. It's still a very viable, strategy, and one that should not be just discounted because someone thinks it's passé.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you said, it's foundational to digital marketing strategy. Done right, I agree with you totally, with permission, not just spamming people. But, think about it as well. And great point. And we just back what Jeff said up here a moment or two. If you put something on social with a link, you might be able to drive them to a page, a group, a landing page, a web. But with email, you can put multiple destination points. Watch a webinar, sign up for a webinar, watch a video, download a document, click back to a website. So it depends. We don't want to give them too many options, of course, because we want to keep them focused on whatever the main conversion is. But ultimately, those multiple destination points do give differences, whether you're awareness, consideration, decision-based content, and I love it. And I'm a big believer still of it, Jeff, email. I think if it's done correctly, when we send a weekly broadcast out, we have an anthology broadcast email. So everybody on our list, they get an email once a week with everything that's happened. Like this podcast will go out in the next anthology in a week or so's time. It'll say, hey, the latest podcast guest is Jeff. This is the latest blog. This is what's going off. And the spike to our website and our landing pages after that anthology email goes out is always huge because it's a lot bigger than normal days traffic when you're not driving, because you are giving those multiple destination points and you're giving people a choice. Do I want to listen to a podcast? Do I want to watch a video, sign up for a webinar, get a free download? Excuse me, depends where they are at that time in the journey. And, that spike in traffic on the analytics, Jeff, is always there after the anthology email broadcast. So I'm a big believer in it, but like everything, if it's done right.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Cool. So wouldn't be digital without paid. And as we wrap out of the show, Jeff, PPC, just to be clear, pay-per-click, this paid social, like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Twitter ads, LinkedIn ads, sponsored emails, and then this paid search, Google ads, if you're still on Bing ads, things like that, or whatever it may be. So talk to me a little bit around paid, what you've seen in the latest, what should listeners be thinking about when, if they're sat there thinking, I need to start to move into getting some boost or some paid traffic out there or some paid search. What's happening out there at the moment, Jeff? What are you seeing as trends at the moment?
Well, I think as far as the multi-channel approach, you have to find out where your audience is, and you have to look at these things as silos. Yeah. So you have to have your Google Ads campaign, you have to have your Facebook campaign, your Twitter campaign, your LinkedIn campaign, and you have to look at all the measurable results independently. Now you can have blended messaging and create the same content, and then you can measure against the success. That's one thing that's beautiful about the digital marketing is the ability to optimize. You can change a messaging A/B test. You can tweak things, but part of that challenge is also keeping things consistent so you can really understand which platform is providing the right results for you. Is your cost per acquisition better on Twitter because your message is different than one that's on Facebook? In your ad campaigns, you can't compare apples to apples if you're looking at different creative and different copy and on different channels, and then measuring that. So if you look at a blended search, I think one of the biggest things that's going on in 2020 and beyond is you're going to see the advent of artificial intelligence and machine learning starting to manage the campaigns for you as an individual. So this is scary, but it's also pretty cool in one way. So I know that some of the clients I consult with, they're saying, well, when I get the Google suggestions, I just click accept, 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 and it's doing it for me. What I need you for, Jeff? And I said, well, that's great. Call me back in 3 months when you forgot what you accepted, and your campaign has went awry and you don't know what you did. Yeah. Or, you have to really understand the strategy that they're providing. Google and these platforms, they're in the business of selling advertisements. Yeah. They're in the business of doing good work for you and getting results. But at the end of the day, if you look at a lot of the suggestions, add these keywords, tweak this budget a little bit on this keyword, modify this. So you're seeing a lot of these things that are becoming automated, which the user says, oh, that's great. I can just click this button and for, $7.30 more, I'll see a 0.357 increase in my click-through rate. But you do that time, if you have a fairly decent sized, ads account on these platforms, you start doing that and accepting all these changes, you forgot what you're doing, and then you missed you're back to that elementary thing of understanding what really worked and why.
Yeah, no baseline, have you? You just constantly evolve. It's like a circle as opposed to a baseline that you can start to measure, and it does get really awkward. I get it. And your ad spend usually goes up significantly as well, what I've seen as well. And like you said, the field of my advertising spend, and the reason that Google, Facebook, whether they're floated companies or whatever they are, they make money, and they don't make money out of you posting free content on the site. They make money out of ad spend. And I'm not saying that they're purposely misleading people. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying is that there is a time where that automation is a time where that optimization is better in the hands of a highly skilled individual. And I still think there's a strong place for that person who's managing that paid for sure. And I agree with you. But again, I'd love to know what you think. Are you auto optimizing your search? Are you paid? Have you got a company doing that for you? What are the results? There'll be pros and cons both sides for sure. Would love to hear from you. And what else are you seeing on specifically social? Is you mentioned TikTok earlier. Yeah. Obviously, there's this big hoo-ha about China and data and this Huawei 5G network and things like that. And obviously, TikTok's a Chinese technical company, owned company, although banned in China, I believe. So, do you see a big promotion of that becoming more digital based for corporate, or do you think it's still more consumer based?
No, I mean, you take up the evolution of a lot of these platforms. Facebook started with college, you know what I mean? And now it's mainstream. I think TikTok's going to do the same thing. I think its audience skews young. Yeah. I think it skews a little bit, risque, and a little bit of, what the younger generations are doing, from pranks to trick shots to dances, but you can kind of see where it's integrating entertainment with the dances, and people are doing dances related to that, and it's a lot of fun, but it's kind of in its infancy. But whenever you have a platform that has grown so fast and is being widely adopted, it's going to find level water with what that platform actually stands for. And, like Snapchat found its platform in regards to taking snaps and doing communications and disappearing. And, now it's integrating to find your friends on Snap. I know I was up visiting my boys. I have twin boys in college. And we were talking with them. We were walking to get some lunch or something like that. It's like, hey, you want to go see Joey, our friend? And I'm like, yeah, sure. He's like, oh, he's right around the corner. I said, how do you know this? Well, he's on the Snapchat, he's got his locations on. I'll just tell him to stay there. We'll be right there. And sure enough, we walk around the corner, near the restaurant, and I got a chance to see his friend. So that's kind of the evolution. Each of these platforms will find their way, but it does create a challenge for advertisers. Where is it? What platform? A lot of companies don't have these unlimited budgets. If you're a big brand and you're spending, your budget's $50, $100 million a year, and you can go do these things. But as a smaller to medium-sized company, you got to kind of pick your battles as well and make sure you're using the platform for the right things.
Yeah, and you can't, unless you have got unlimited budget, you can't be everywhere. You got to pick it out, test and measure and learn and go from there. So absolutely spot on. Jeff, it's been an absolute pleasure. Tell us a little bit more as we close out the show. Chief Internet Marketer, for the listeners out there, the people who want to do it right, we're appealing to you guys. What the type of services that you offer, what can they do? How do they get involved? Just tell us a little bit about this training that Chief Internet Marketer does and the certifications.
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. I mean, basically in a nutshell, what I'm trying to do is close the skills gap in digital marketing. So I have a lot of different things in regards to that. So I have the Digital Marketer's Oath, which you can just make a commitment. There's no cost that you're going to do professional digital marketing. I have digital marketing courses that might be specific to, Facebook advertising for left-handed batters. I have marketing exams. So if you're a skilled PPC expert and you want to get a certification from Chief Internet Marketer, you can go in there and go to Chief Internet Marketer, click on the exams, take the exam, and you pass, you get a certification from Chief Internet Marketer that you can put in your profile or your social badges on your resume or what have you. And then I have long form courses that I have a North American license for the Digital Marketing Institute.
Amazing.
And these are 30-hour courses with a 3-hour proctored exam. And, if you want to become a certified digital marketing professional through me and the Digital Marketing Institute, which is backed by LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Ogilvy, IBM, Microsoft, all these companies put together the curriculum, chiefinternetmarketer.com, you go to the certified courses. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to, bridge that skills gap, trying to keep people on the professional level, trying to, separate from those who claim they're digital marketers and just really are not, the people that are putting out infographics and content that's, something that they didn't author, they're just, one of the Me Too's, trying to separate the professionals from the amateurs. And, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we'll put those links below. We're chiefinternetmarketer.com. Head over there, take a look at the courses, take a look at the exams. Go and take that oath. Again, we'll put that in the link in the blog, which you can see on the podcast as well. So, Jeff, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. As we always wrap out of the open mic, we ask you to sort of summarize in 3 pro tips. We've got the entrepreneur, the business leaders, maybe or maybe not the digital marketers, maybe not where it's at. This podcast has brought it back to top of mind. What would be the 3 pro tips that they should be looking at in 2020 to sort of make sure that they're on the right path? Outside of go to chiefinternetmarketer.com, of course, but what could they do themselves to make sure that they're on the right track and to get some value about moving forward professionally?
You talk about 2020, and 2020 is a date.
It is.
You have to commit to the fundamentals of marketing and digital marketing. And the things that I always advise my clients and advise, the listeners here is be aware of shiny objects that take away your focus and on the fundamentals and the core brand. Don't be afraid to push the boundaries of your brand. Explore different options and explore the growth of your brand. And then, as always, test, learn, implement, repeat against your strategic plan, not arbitrary.
Yeah.
Work from your strategic plan to test, learn, implement, and repeat.
Yeah. Brilliant. That's fantastic, Jeff. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. We know how busy you are. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, Jeff, hosting you today.
Yeah, it was. Thank you. I'm very pleased and happy to be a part of the open mic, and pleasure talking with you, and look forward to further collaboration.
Absolutely. And for the listeners, we appreciate you've got a lot of choice in the podcast market. We appreciate the time that you take to listen and share your time with us. And as always, we appreciate you continuing that growth engine development. As always, go get in the game, go do the hustle, go make it happen. We're going to catch up with you on another Open Mic podcast real soon. Have a great week, guys. Take care.
You have been listening to The Open Mic, brought to you by The Success Hub. To find out more and to get the resources we have mentioned in this podcast episode, simply visit blog.thesuccesshub.io and view the podcast section. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to catching up with you in our next episode. This podcast and associated materials is published under copyright to The Success Hub. All rights reserved. No reproduction of this material is permitted.